Hey guys, it's Libby. Happy New Year. Today I'm going to be doing a haul for the things I received for my birthday, which is December 21st, and Christmas, which, if you don't know, is December 25th. Starting off with my birthday books, a lot of these were actually sewing books, so I'll go through them quickly and I won't read the first sentence because, it's boring. So the first book was The Medieval Tailor's Assistant by Sarah Thursfield. This is, ow, I hit it on my face. This is a collection. It's got some primary sources and sort of patterns and advice on constructing medieval garments because medieval garments have like really funky construction. Honestly, all centuries have their own weird approaches to garment construction. Then I have two books on 16th century embroidery. One of them is Beginner's Guide to Blackwork by Leslie Wilkins. As you can see, blackwork is a sort of geometric counted thread embroidery that's done with black thread. And then Elizabethan Stitches, which is about Elizabethan embroidery, which was very funky. There's a good example. Lots of like coils and flowers and very complex sort of braided stitches. There's an example. There's another one. And then the next one, in case you haven't noticed, we're going through this in chronological order, is Regency Women's Dress. This is a collection of patterns. I've marked the ones that I like from sort of 1795 to 1830, and they give you the layout for the pieces, and then some information about the original garment that they were taken from. Another book of patterns is Directoire Revival Fashions by Frances Grimble. I have another of Frances Grimble books from earlier in the Bustle era. This is also a collection of patterns, but these are not taken from original garments. These are taken from patterns of the time. And then last one, this is Women's Wear of the 1930s, which is more patterns taken from original garments. Okay, moving on to the novels. The first one is from my grandmother, and this is actually a book that I hadn't heard of before. I hadn't heard of the author either. It's called The Fool's Girl by Celia Rees, and I believe it is it's not a retelling, it's a reworking of Twelfth Night. So I think it's still set in the 16th century, but it's not just in Illyria, and it doesn't look like there's an Orsino or an Olivia, and the main character meets Shakespeare. So pretty different than actual Twelfth Night. And I believe it's multiple perspectives. Yeah, because the character names are occasionally given to you. Okay, so first sentence. London, 22nd April 1601. Violetta, have you seen a city under sack? And then from my brother and sister-in-law for my birthday, I got Hark a Vagrant by Kate Beaton. If you don't know what this is, oh my god, what are you doing with your life? This is a collection of comics. Kate Beaton has a website, which is just called Hark a Vagrant, where she posts her web comics, which are some of it is too pretentious for me, and I consider myself to be pretty pretentious. But it's, they're comics about, historical and literary figures, you've got Napoleon here, and she does sort of her take on scenes from Wuthering Heights, and sort of things that make fun of, advertisements from the 17th century. It's its own thing, and it's very cool. I guess I'll read you the first sentence. It is Napoleon. He is holding a history book, and he says, "Ah yes, history book." Now moving into Christmas presents. The first one that I got, I think this is from my parents. Yes, probably. This is A Stranger in Alondria by Sophia Samatar, and if you are hanging out in the corner of BookTube that I am hanging out in, you already know about this. It's very popular among the people who have read it, and it didn't, I had looked at it before, and I wasn't that sounds like something I desperately need to read, but since it is so beloved, I will trust the internet. Oh, that's dangerous. The first sentence, oh, there's a map. Okay, chapter 1, Childhood in Tayam. As I was a stranger in Alondria, I knew nothing of the splendor of its coasts, nor of Bane, the harbor city, whose lights and colors spill into the ocean like a cataract of roses. I was pretty on board with that sentence, except for the notion of a cataract of roses. That's kind of gross. Then we have The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. This is a book that came on my radar because of Essie Fox, who is another author. She wrote The Somnambulist, and I follow her on Twitter, and she read this book and was very excited about it, and I trust her tastes. So this is set in the late Victorian period. I don't know that much about it. It involves like a widow and a vicar, and it's in Essex, and there's a rumor of like a snake monster. I don't know if it's going to be like fantasy or magical realism or gothic, but all of those are things that I am okay with. First sentence: a young man walks down by the banks of the Blackwater under the full cold moon. And then I have two books that go together. They are volumes 1 and 2 of the Night Vale, Welcome to Night Vale scripts. The first one is Mostly Void, Partially Stars, and the second one is The Great Glowing Coils of the Universe. These are by Jeffrey Cranor and Joseph Fink. And these are the scripts from the podcast, like plus other stuff. There's some art. Hello, art. And the writers and possibly some of the actors have written sort of introductions to the scripts. So I don't anticipate like sitting down and reading these books because just listen to the podcast. But I am interested in the supplemental material. So I'm going to read the first sentences from the introductions, which normally I wouldn't do. I'd get into like the meat of the story. But no one wants to hear me read lines when you could hear Cecil Baldwin reading them. So Welcome to Night Vale is a hobby that got out of hand, is the first sentence of Mostly Void, Partially Stars. And then the first sentence of the introduction of Great Glowing Coils of the Universe is, people ask, how did Night Vale become so popular? And the last book that I have to show you is from my aunt, and she got this one for me because most of the books on my wish list sounded sad, and this one did not sound sad. It is The Only Child by Guo Jing. This is a wordless graphic novel, or I guess it's like, it says for ages 5 to 9 up here, so I guess technically it's a picture book. I'm not sure if this was originally published in Chinese, and this was translated. None of the words were translated, but I have it in English here. And this is a sort of black and white, I don't know what the medium is, like pencil? Yeah, that's looking like pencil. And it's a sort of fantastical take on an experience that the author had when she was a child. She grew up in China in the 80s under the one-child policy, so she felt very lonely, and her parents would have to like go off to work sometimes and leave her alone. And one day she went to visit her grandmother, and she was put on the bus, and she fell asleep on the bus, and then she sort of wandered around being lost for a bit when she was 6 years old. I'm sure that was traumatic, but this is a sort of more pleasant version of that. There is a nice stag. So the first sentence is 7:04 next to a bunny. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a lovely holiday season, and have a good new year.